Breaking news out of the NFL, where Commander star receiver Terry McLaurin is officially holding out of training camp. That is the latest from our Jonathan Jones. McLaurin seeking a new deal, with just 1 year left on his current contract. Our Jonathan Jones says that he will be subject to $50,000 per day in fines for every day that he is absent. Terry McLaurin, named second-team All-Pro last season, also led the Commanders in receiving yards in each of his first 5 years with the team. So let's welcome in our lead NFL insider, Jonathan Jones, to tell us exactly what is going on now between Terry McLaurin and the Commanders. Their GM Adam Peters came out and said, look, we love him. We hope to work this out. That was just in the past 24 hours or so. And now you have this. Why is he holding out? Why come to that decision? Are they at a complete stalemate, JJ?
Certainly seems that way, right? Because you didn't want it to get to this point if you are either side. And Terry McLaurin, for his part, what he's saying is, I am the number one wide receiver on this football team. I am a leader of this football team. Look, all these good times with the Washington Commanders right now, the NFC Conference Championship game and all that, like, I was here for the doldrums, right? I was here for the Dan Snyder regime, and I was sort of that voice and that leader for that team then. And he was rewarded with a 3-year contract back then. Well, this is the third year of those 3 years. And now what has the wide receiver market done? Well, it's ballooned, and it's above $40 million in average annual value ever since Terry McLaurin signed that deal. What's working against Terry is that he's going to be 30 in a few weeks. Typically, that doesn't make you one of the highest paid players at your position, unless, of course, you're TJ Watt, for example. But we see right here the list, and Terry McLaurin slotting in where he is. The number really should be right there at the bottom, right? It should be that $29 million per year, because right below T. Higgins is Jalen Waddle at about $28 or so million. Those are number two receivers, right? Tyreek Hill's the one, Jalen Waddle's the two. You see Jamar Chase at the top, he's the one. T. Higgins is the two. Well, Terry McLaurin is the one with the Washington Commanders. He's not up there. So that is his issue. This is going to be his last bite at the apple, right, as a 30-year-old wide receiver in the NFL, as these contracts have ballooned, and he wants to use the leverage that is available to him, because he's looking at the Commanders saying, okay, you went out and you got Deebo Samuel, and you went out and you traded for Marshawn Lattimore, and then you went out and you got Laramie Tunsil, and then just yesterday making it official, signing Von Miller at 36 years old. So how about me, right? You got the quarterback Jaden Daniels on the rookie deal. How about me? And so that is where things stand right now, that he is willing to incur losses of $50,000 per day to make his point. Should be a signal to the Commanders, to GM Adam Peters, that he's very serious about this.
So if it is that signal, and again, he's willing to eat 50 grand per day, I mean, how quickly, when you see these things go on in the past, does this speed up the negotiating process, or are the Commanders just going to stick to what they want to do, and they're just, all right, we'll fine you and let's see how this goes?
You know what? And that is a great question, because this is really the first test in Adam Peters' regime, right? He took over as general manager before the start of last season, and he used to be with the San Francisco 49ers. So there's a lot of familiarity with Adam Peters and veterans who are displeased with their contracts, right? It feels like every summer up until this summer, we've really talked about one of the star 49ers players who is not reporting to training camp or is holding in, for example, right? So he's used to that. But what has he done as a general manager when this happens? We haven't seen that yet. And these fines, while the Commanders cannot waive them, this is what the NFL CBA, this is what the players have agreed to. So there's no wiping away any of these fines. And not only that, Amanda, but if Terry McLaurin doesn't report by the start of the preseason games, if he misses a preseason game, he will then be fined 1/18 of his base salary for this upcoming season. So upwards of $800,000 he would be fined if he doesn't report by that point, along with the $50,000 per day. So this is really going to add up for McLaurin. And if you want to raise, well, you're going to have to pay some of that back after the several weeks that you've missed. So there is some incentive for Terry McLaurin to hustle up and get the deal done. There is a deal out there for him, but clearly not one that he finds he wants to sign.
And Terry McLaurin, 29 years old, and our research department has been hard at work looking at some of the other veteran receivers out there who, what happened when they hit that age 30 wall, and then what happened to their contracts. Taking a look at some of it, Tyreek Hill, Devontae Adams, Stephon Diggs there. I mean, is this the reason for teams like the Commanders, when you do get these receivers, when they're about 29 or 30 years old, to not hand out those big contracts?
Yes, absolutely. That's it. That is what is working against Terry McLaurin. You see the regret from the Miami Dolphins, right? You've seen the regret from the teams that had ultimately brought on and it didn't work out. A Devontae Adams. Who did Devontae Adams replace? It was Cooper Kupp. Why is Cooper Kupp no longer with the Rams? Because at 30 plus, they didn't know what to do with his contract. Really, the only one that has, stayed the course, if you will, is a Mike Evans. And even that last year was a strange and interesting sort of negotiation. It's like when, you buy a house, for example, and you need to get a comp in the neighborhood to make sure that you are paying the right amount. Like when you get to 30, 31-year-old receivers who are still playing toward the top of their game, when they're a number one wide receiver, there aren't many to look around and say, oh, that's the comp. And so then it makes it easy for everyone, right? When Myles Garrett, getting closer to 30, goes out and gets $40 million per year, it's much easier for the Pittsburgh Steelers to have their 30-year-old pass rusher who compares very closely and similarly with Myles Garrett to pay him that same amount of money. But because you don't have those comparisons out there, and the ones you do haven't aged very well in terms of contracts, well, that's why you end up in the position the Commanders and Terry McLaurin are in right now. Is
this something that could potentially turn into a trade situation, JJ?
I am always hesitant, reticent to get to that point, just because, frankly, Amanda, we deal with this every year across various teams, right? There's always a star player or two at about 20 to 25 NFL teams who aren't that pleased with their contracts. You and I have been on here talking since June about a number of them, and then what has happened? They ultimately get the deal done, right? We do all the potential landing spots for these guys, and then they get the deal done. This is going to be a difficult negotiation. None will be more difficult than what the Cincinnati Bengals are dealing with Trey Hendrickson. I want to make that clear. That one, no one really knows how that one's going to end. This one, I still think ultimately both sides come to an agreement because both sides want essentially the same thing. Can't agree on the number. Maybe they'll get there on the number. But Terry McLaurin wants Washington. Washington's better with Terry McLaurin. I think something ultimately gets done there.
I was about to ask you for a prediction and a shot in the dark, and you gave it to me saying that you do think something will get done. JJ, I appreciate it. We'll keep our eye more so on trade dollar extension. And over with the Commanders reporting to training camp today, but Terry McLaurin still doesn't have a new deal, getting frustrated about it. The veteran wideout said last week that he was getting a little annoyed with the team. Here's what GM Adam Peters had to say about the situation earlier today.
I think everybody in this building values Terry very much, and we knew that coming in, and we knew that even more after spending a year with him. In terms of where we're at, we've had conversations recently, and we'll look to have some more conversations, and we're going to do everything we can in order to get a deal done.
Let's welcome in NFL writer and expert John Breach here. So let's start with Terry McLaurin. There's a lot of things at a lot of training camps that are a little shaky right now. And this has been going on for some time, though. But now he's saying, look, I'll explore trade options. Where would you put kind of the alarm, the meter for Terry McLaurin and the Commanders right now?
Well, if I'm the Commanders, I'm definitely mildly alarmed, because when you have a player come out and say that they're a little annoyed, that means they're already a lot annoyed, because you don't have players just publicly speak against the team usually. We look at Terry McLaurin's salary for the 2025 season. It's set to be $15.5 million, which is way under the market price. The Commanders know they have to pay him more. He's not going to play under that deal. I don't think they can trade him, though. I mean, you look at the wide receiver market, you got to give him up near $30 million. I have to imagine that's what Terry McLaurin is aiming to get. But this is not a guy they can afford to get rid of. You look at the connection he had with Jaden Daniels last season. Daniels threw 117 passes to Terry McLaurin. They had strong chemistry. And then you look at Terry McLaurin's consistency. He's got over 1,000 yards in 5 straight seasons, despite playing for offenses that haven't been really that great until Jaden Daniels got there. So this is a guy they have to keep. They have to keep him happy. So I do think they eventually get a deal done. It's just a matter of when. And you want to get him in there as soon as possible because you want him to be ready to roll in week 1.
You want all of your best players to be able to roll in week 1, including the Bengals and Trey Hendrickson. You have an article about the San.
What's up, Vikings Nation? It's your guy Victor here from Report Vikings, and today, we got a spicy one. Terry McLaurin. Yes, that Terry McLaurin, the guy who's been Mr. Reliable in Washington for years, just skipped the start of Commanders training camp. And let me tell y'all something, this ain't just some random holdout. There's more to this story than meets the eye, and the Vikings are right in the middle of it. Let's start with the facts. McLaurin officially got placed on the reserve did not report list. Dude didn't even show up for conditioning drills, and this comes after he already skipped mandatory minicamp. He's making a statement. Why? Because he wants to get paid like a top-tier WR, and you know what? He deserves it. He's entering the 3rd year of a 3-year, $68 million contract. But with guys like A.J. Brown and Justin Jefferson pushing that WR market north of $30 million per season, McLaurin wants in on that number. He's 29, coming off his best season ever. 82 catches, 1,096 yards, 13 touchdowns. And get this, he's had 5 straight 1,000-yard seasons with a revolving door of quarterbacks in Washington. 11 different QBs since 2019. That's insane. So what's the Minnesota angle here? Sources close to the situation, and yeah, I'm talking to people who are really plugged in, say the Vikings have shown serious interest in offering McLaurin a long-term contract. And even juicier, McLaurin might actually want to come to Minnesota. Think about it. You get to line up across from Justin Jefferson, you got JJ McCarthy on the rise, Kevin O'Connell calling the shots, and a franchise that's clearly ready to go all in to win the NFC North. Compared to the chaos in Washington, that's a no-brainer. Some people are saying McLaurin skipping camp is only about money, but let's be real. There's also a football side to this, and the idea of catching passes in purple and gold. It's gotta be tempting. This dude's a competitor. He wants to win, and with Jaden Daniels breaking out last season, the Commanders may feel like they can save money and let someone else overpay McLaurin. That someone could be us. Now I know what some of you are thinking. Victor, we already have Justin Jefferson, Jordan Addison, and TJ Hawkinson. Why go after another WR? Let me tell you why. Super Bowl caliber teams stack elite weapons. Look at the 49ers. Look at the Dolphins. You want mismatches? Imagine trying to cover Jefferson and McLaurin on the same play. You can't double both. And you give a young QB like JJ McCarthy that kind of support? That's how you fast track his development. We'd become one of the most explosive offenses in the entire NFL overnight. And listen, McLaurin's not just a stats guy. He's a leader. He's durable. Never played fewer than 14 games in a season. He's been through losing seasons, QB chaos, regime changes, and still puts up numbers. You add that kind of professionalism to our locker room, that's huge. The only question now is, are the Vikings gonna pull the trigger? Kwesi Adofo-Mensah has been aggressive this offseason. We already saw him flip things up with the Danielle Hunter situation. He's not afraid to take big swings. And if McLaurin is signaling he's open to coming to Minnesota, man, we gotta make that move. So here's what I wanna know from you guys. Should the Vikings go all in on Terry McLaurin? Would you be cool paying him around $30 million per year to line up across from Justin Jefferson? Or do you think we should hold onto our cap space and roll with what we got? Drop your thoughts in the comments below. You know I'll be down there chatting with you, and hey, if you're loving the updates and want to keep up with everything going on in Vikings Nation, smash that like button, hit subscribe, and turn on notifications so you never miss a video. This is Victor from Report Vikings signing off. Skull Nation, we might be cooking up something big.